And just one more time. Thank you.
All righty, let's get this show on the road. All right, so a little bit of housekeeping before we get to the main order of business. First things first, my name is Clayton Tucker. You probably got an email or text or, quite a number of them from me. And I am one of the founders, and I am the current president of the Texas Progressive Caucus. Welcome. Now, because Democrats have not been in power in this state, our rural broadband is not great. So, please, I know this is going to be difficult for a large number of us, including myself as a millennial here, but if you are in a position where you can turn off the data on your phone, or you can turn your phone to airplane mode, I turned off the data on my phone. I can still get phone calls, just in case, but please do that if you are in a position to. I also have a lot of people I have to thank. So much so I wrote it out, so I won't forget anyone, I hope. So first I want to thank our executive committee. So if you are an executive committee member of the Texas Progressive Caucus, please raise your hand. You have Angel, JT, Trish, and our advisory board members. Christy, you're on the advisory board. You got to raise your hand too. Also, I want to thank all of our members for really putting us on. We're a membership-driven organization. And of course, y'all, that food was something else, wasn't it? Give them a round of applause. And if you need to get in contact with any of the folks I'm mentioning today, reach out to us. We'll help get you connected. They're great folks. If you're a member of the State Democratic Executive Committee, raise your hand. Gotta thank y'all. If you are a county chair, please raise your hand. Woo! What about our precinct chairs? Do we have any precinct chairs? Oh, hell yeah. I, of course, also want to thank the candidates for joining us. There's a couple of other who couldn't make it, but we are going to try to get them to respond to some of these questions too, and we will be emailing this all out. I also want to thank, you'll be hearing more from our moderator, Jeff with the barbed wire. Now let's talk about the folks helping us with tech. Our great sound engineer, Ernest. Yeah, he's doing great. Before I continue thanking, I do want to mention we have an overflow room out there. There's heaters, and if there might be some folks who need to sit more than others. So if you are able to stand, please do so. If you have to give up your seat to someone, please do the best that you can. And I see some folks are sitting on the ground, and that's A-okay. I also want to thank one of our big sponsors, Progress Texas. And let's hear from them real quick.
Thank you, Clayton, and thanks everybody for being here. I'm Kathleen Thompson, and I'm Executive Director of Progress Texas. We built PT to tell the truth, to counter intentional disinformation, and to build political power, what you're all here to do today. While campaigns come and go, Progress Texas is the permanent home for progressive media and action in our state. An authoritarian ruling party deserves a strong, committed opposition. Please follow Progress Texas on the podcast streaming platform of your choice on social media and sign up for our emails. We believe that progressives must campaign year-round. Progressive messaging must always be on. We are so proud to be in this fight with the Texas Progressive Caucus, with our friends here at Unified, and with all of you candidates here today. Thank you, Clayton.
Next, let's hear from our other sponsor, Unified. Brian?
Hey, everyone. Who's excited for today's debate? I am so pumped up. Now, I'm Brian, as Clayton said, from Unified. We are the new social network for organizers and activists. Finally, a place for us to be able to discover, connect, and amplify all the good work that we're doing. Now, we, as Clayton said, are a partner today, so what does that mean? We have created a group chat, and I'm really talking to you watching at home. You can now participate actively in today's debate. What I want you to do is take out your phone, go to your app store, search for Unified, or just go to joinunified.us. That's joinunified.us. Once you've created your account, make sure you use invite code TXPC25. That's TX for Texas, PC for Progressive Caucus 25. And the last thing, you're going to want to search. Oh, great. Thanks, Chris. I want to make sure that you search for the Texas Progressive Caucus and then request to join. That way you'll be in the group chat and you can participate again. So real quick, step 1, download Unified. Step 2, TXPC25. Step 3, search for the Progressive Caucus. We'll make sure you're in. Thanks so much. Have a great debate.
Thank you, Brian. And if you ever have any issues, like any confusion, reach out to them. Their support staff is great. Before really launching in, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to tell a story. This story happened a long time ago, the 1800s, where a group of folks got together, pretty close to here actually, to Texas Hill Country, and they were mad of all these damn oligarchs thinking they could control the country. At that time, it was the railroads, also big ag, and everyone just think they could just dominate, they could buy the politicians, they could do all these things. And you know what they launched? They launched a progressive movement. That's right. The progressive movement was born in Texas. It is as Texan as anything else, from the open skies to West Texas to the piney woods of the East. Being a progressive is a part of Texas's heritage. At the beginning, we didn't even allow banks. I mean, you can hate a banker, but dang. And to me, history is repeating itself. And this isn't the first time America's been an oligarchy. Let's be real. It's happened before. It was called the Gilded Age. And it was a progressive movement that ultimately took down that oligarchy. And that's how we got the things like the 19th Amendment, allowing women to vote. That's how we got civil rights. That's how we got the New Deal. That's how we got the GI Bill. voting rights, all these things, Social Security, Medicare, that came from progressives. And it is only a matter of time before we are back in power, and we will do even more. We will return our country to us, to the people. Because at the Texas Progressive Caucus, if you want to understand us, it's very simple. We bring the party to the people and the people to the party. And we're fighters, and we like to fight like hell. So I will pass it off to our moderator.
Yeah, thanks, Clayton. Way to give me like an easy intro to follow behind. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. Hey, everybody, I'm Jeff Rotkoff. It's nice to see y'all. There's some old friends in this room. I've seen folks, I mean, I'm not going to call anyone out, Susan Chris, but like maybe I worked on your legislative campaign more than a decade ago. I'm Jeff Rotkoff. I am a reformed, retired, recovering Texas PAC director, campaign manager, labor organizer, and like many of you, I have been really frustrated with the state of legacy media. And so about 6 months ago, with some journalist colleagues, we decided to do something about it. We founded and launched a new digital media company called The Barbed Wire. You can check us out at thebarbedwire.com. I'm going to tell you a little bit about us for just a second. We are not partisan. It is not our job to elect Democrats. Everybody else here in the room can worry about getting Democrats elected. Our job is real simple. It should not be hard for a journalist to say that climate change is bad, that abortion is health care, that gun violence is bad, that queer people and immigrants are human beings deserving of lives of dignity and respect and joy and safety, that vaccines do not cause autism, and that the fucking world, pardon me, live stream, is round, not flat. But too many people, too many of our friends in legacy journalism, maybe because it's how they were trained, maybe it's because Jeff Bezos owns their newspaper, are afraid to say those things as statement of fact. Again, we're not partisan, but we are unapologetically progressive. Our editor-in-chief, Olivia Messer, is a renowned investigative journalist who has uncovered stuff on the left and the right in the Texas legislature. Again, we're 6 months into it. We're having a lot of fun. We are member-supported. We are not paywalled. This is really, really important. Good journalism tends to often be paywalled, and right-wing slop and crap is not. But that does mean we need your help. We need you to visit us at thebarbedwire.com. You can sign up as a member for as little as $4 a month. There are a number of members in the room, and we really appreciate you. If you sign up as a member today, I'm going to hang out all day today, Clayton. If you sign up as a member today, I'll see it in my phone, and you will leave with one of these stickers. It's hard to see from this far in the room, but it says, "Put Elon in the rocket." If you would like to send that Nazi sympathizer to Mars, come find me, get a sticker, and help us spread the good word. With that, I want to thank Clayton. I want to thank the Progressive Caucus, our candidates, our sponsors, Progress Texas, for the opportunity for the Barbed Wire to moderate this forum. To our candidates, I'm just going to refresh y'all on ground rules real quick. First off, an apology. I'm probably going to call y'all by your first names. I should be very, very formal, but I'm not going to be. I'm sorry. Like we're all packed in here. We're all friends. I'm going to call you by your first names. I hope that's okay. A reminder of our ground rules. Each candidate is going to have 1 minute to do an opening statement. I am probably going to start on my right with Aaron and work our way down to the left to just sort of keep things fair. Note the seats were assigned. Everybody sat where they sat. 1 minute opening statements. There'll be 90 seconds to respond to each question. There'll be 30-second opportunities for rebuttals if you feel one is needed. If you feel like you need to rebut, you can just, I'm right here. You can tell me and we'll figure it out. Each candidate will have a 2-minute close. I want to ask you all to please respect Jennifer, our timekeeper, and our crowd and one another. So you can keep an eye on her, but I promise you, if you miss her holding the time sign, I'm going to let you know, okay? With that, who's ready to get started? All right, everybody, let's do it. Aaron, you've got, oh, and y'all need to pass the mic to one another. We have one mic on each side, okay? You want to check and make sure that mic is working real quick, Aaron? I won't hold it against your time.
1, 2, 3.
Awesome. Okay, take 1 second off.
Testing,
Aaron said
1, 2,
testing,
3.
1, 2, 3. With that, Aaron, you've got a minute, 1 minute for your opening statement. Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you to Clayton and the Progressive Democrats Caucus for having this event. Thank you to all for being in attendance. My name is Aaron Argijo. I grew up in the feedlots and the fields of the Northwest Texas Panhandle, off the Highway 385 and Highway 87. I've never seen a candidate show up to my hometown, right, in any statewide election. So this election, I feel that the TDP needs to focus specifically, the TDP chair needs to focus specifically on rural Texas. There are a lot of things that are happening in urban Texas that can't be replicated in rural Texas. It's a different type of Texan. A northern Texan is different than a southern Texan. An east Texan is different than a west Texan. And we gotta have a plan and a strategy for all of that. My goal, first order of business on day one, is to hook up a travel trailer to the back of my truck and to travel to all these little towns and make this a full-time job. That's what we need to do. We need a Texas TDP chair that's going to empower SDECs, precinct chairs, county chairs, and work with them side by side. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Kendall, you're up.
My name is Kendall Scutter, and I'm here today on behalf of the working men and women of this state who are ready to take their party back. I'm here today on behalf of the county chair and the precinct chair and the candidate and the elected official and the SDC member who's felt disrespected by an apparatus more interested in making the establishment class in Austin happy than doing the grassroots work on the ground that it takes to flip this state. I currently serve as one of the vice chairs of the Texas Democratic Party, where I sit up at the front of the room when I cast my ballots, oftentimes by myself with a 100% voting record with this Progressive Caucus. I have worked in this party from being a precinct chair up to the position that I'm in now. I put more than 35,000 miles on my pickup last cycle, traveling around and trying to help y'all where I could. And the first order of business when I'm your chair is we're putting together a grassroots infrastructure to make sure you feel supported, because the people who are doing the work on the ground in this party deserve respect, and they haven't been getting it. Under Scutter chairmanship, that is the #1 priority, and I'm here to try to deliver that for you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kendall. Delia.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. My name is Dilia Parker Mims. I'm chair of the Denton County Democratic Party, the best county party in the state of Texas. And like many of you, I was extremely disappointed that Trump won. I was disappointed that we lost the Valley. I was disappointed that we lost Democratic votes. Nationally, we went down. Statewide, we went down. Denton County, we went up. I wanted to crawl under a bed after he won and say, I'm done with this, I'm over, but I have to fight. That's just who I am. So I am here running for state chair to lead the fight to reclaim the state of Texas. See, in Denton County, we were #1. We are the largest county in the state of Texas to increase Democratic turnout. Both cycles I have been chair. We win elections by getting Democrats to the polls. We know how to do that in Denton County. We were #1 for voter registration percentage increase in Denton County when we initiated the Fight Back Register 50 program and got our volunteers activated. We've increased our precinct chairs, and we've done that by working as one team. I'm wearing thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Woods Martin.
Thank you. I am Paty Woods Martin, and I am here, like all of you, because we want to make lives better for Texans across this country. And we believe that the way to do it is to win elections with Democratic candidates. I have a proven track record of doing just that. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong Democrat. My grandfather was a precinct chair in rural Montague County. I worked on Lloyd Benson's races, on Ann Richards' race. I went through East Texas with John Hill and his family, knocking on doors, going to the weekly newspapers to get his word out. And then I ran Annie's List from 2014 to 2018. And where we flipped seats, we won elections, what have I learned from all of that? I've learned how to fund and win elections. And that's the only way we're gonna change lives across this state. Join me in doing just that.
Thank you, Patsy. Patricia.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patricia Oliveres, and if you can't roll your R's, it's okay. You can call me Patricia Oliveres. How do I tell you how amazing I am in 60 seconds? You know, I mean, Really, but I'm going to try. Everybody here has an amazing vision for the leadership and where they want to take the state party. I share some of those same sentiments, and I can go into them a little bit later, but it's about infrastructure, it's about leadership, and it's about getting on the ground. In 2020, I was a campaign manager for 2 competitive state house races. I got to work with Clayton out in Bell County. I got to work with Jeff. In 2023, I was a campaign manager for a Houston City Council, and most recently, I was the executive director of Service Women's Action Network, a national military nonprofit that helps military women and women veterans. I'm going to end with this. How many of you knew when you were 8 years old what you wanted to do? I did. Oh, I can't tell you the story now, but hopefully I'll get to tell you later.
That's quite a cliffhanger there. All right, thank you for those opening statements. We'll start again down here, Aaron, with you for this first question. I should say, we had questions submitted by many of you in the room. I took the liberty of compiling questions that were similar to one another, and so you may not hear your exact question asked, but you should hear the topic you asked about. And we tried to make sure that we covered all the areas of interest.
Would you guys prefer that we stand or sit while we answer the questions? Okay.
All right. For our first question, Aaron, we're here with the Progressive Caucus. The question we're going to ask each candidate is, do you consider yourself a progressive Democrat? What does it mean to be a progressive?
Absolutely. Being a progressive means including every single person that exists on this planet, period. It doesn't matter if you're part of the LGBTQI plus community. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you're brown. It doesn't matter if you're white, right? All that matters is that we are all inclusive. I never would have thought that I'd be saying this, but it feels like we're about to bring Trump supporters into the fold because they're finding out real quick that everything that their president ran on was complete bull, right? Everything that we already knew. So we're probably bringing them into the fold, and guess what? We're going to accept them with open arms. And that's what being a progressive is to me, right? Traveling around to Texas and finding the people that are different in different communities, in the small towns that may have different views from the traditional sense of what you should be, how you should be born and raised, right? And accepting them, and hopefully having a conversation with the people that don't believe, that are from a traditional sense. Hopefully have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, we can all coexist with each other, all right? We just have different points of views. And so that's what I feel a progressive is, bring all these people into the fold, accept them, take their ideas, and work with them, right? Because they know they know their areas, they know the type of people that they are, and hopefully that we can bring more people that are like them, and we can reflect with them. Excuse me, I'm trying to find the words, but yeah, that's what I believe what progressive is.
Awesome, thank you. Kendall, what about you?
Yes.
Are you a progressive Democrat? What does that mean?
I am a progressive Democrat. A progressive to me is a person that understands that our country, while we love it, is not perfect, and that we are on a constant strive to make it a more inclusive party that is more inclusive country that allows more seats at the table for average working folks. I think that in my life I've shown that I've been a progressive, not only in the way that I've helped govern the party, but when I've been a candidate on the ballot and I've been an elected official, I've operated as a progressive. That's why I have the support of the progressive voices you trust, like Commissioner Jim Hightower and Julianne Nitsch, who's a trustee on the Austin Community College, and Congressman John Bryant, who serves in the State House. The progressives that you trust understand and have worked with me, and they know that we are in a fight to build a grassroots movement focused on people over consultancy and the establishment class in Austin.
Thank you. Chair Parker Mims.
Thank you. Let's go, Denton. What I believe in is the tenets in our Constitution: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and achieving those. And in order to do that, we've got to move forward. Because when it was written, I wasn't included. A lot of us in here were not included. And it's just like Mr. Scutter said, we are constantly working to move towards a more inclusive society where we all can, where those tenets actually are all of us. Was that a sign of I'm too long? Well, okay. So I'm not sure what progressive or not progressive, I am Gen X, but I believe in the individual's right to do what's best for their life. You want to know what my life is like as a lawyer? I'm the one who answers up the phone when the LGBT person calls and wants to adopt and wants someone to respond with a respectful tone and fight for them to get their job done, to get done what they need because they want to have access to the court. I'm the one who has a best friend who just became a U.S. citizen. In her 50s, I cried because I didn't know she wasn't a citizen. I'm from El Paso. She was just a drum major. But she just became a citizen, and I thought how terrible she must have felt. So does that make me progressive? I believe in a woman's right to choose. I believe abortion is health care. I believe climate change is real. And I believe in order for us to have the tenets of the Constitution apply to everyone, we must be progressive and move forward towards working towards that.
Thank you very much. Patsy, you consider yourself a progressive Democrat?
I'm progressive. And I have a proven track record with that, having been the executive director of Annie's List. You know, people's rights should not be governed, not be determined by folks sitting in Capitol domes or in a corrupt White House. It is time for us as human beings across this state, across the nation, to stand up, to come together, and to demand our human rights. And I will fight. I fought, and I'll continue to fight for that all day, every day.
Thank you. Patricia.
Okay, maybe I can get back to that story I was going to tell you. So, am I progressive? Hell yeah, I am. And as a matter of fact, I knew when I was progressive. I'm going to go back to that story when I was 8 years old. So I'm 8 years old. I'm in the 3rd grade. It's the 1988 presidential election. And in school, we were having this whole thing. We had a whole debate. We had a little kid that was pretending to be Michael Dukakis. We had another little kid that was pretending to be George Bush. Can you guess who I voted for? I voted for Dukakis. And at the time, I did not know already I was a Democrat. As a 3rd grader, I just voted for Michael Dukakis because I thought his name sounded funny. I thought it sounded like caca and things like so. But because of that, that instilled in me an interest in politics. So then I went home and I watched the 1988 Democratic National Convention. And that is when I saw the most iconic queen to ever come from the state of Texas. And that was Governor Ann Richards. When I tell you, I heard that woman speak and I heard her call out the Reagan administration and to call out George Bush. And she said it time and time again, how their policies were wrong. Do y'all remember that? She started calling them out. She's like, and it's just wrong. And that is the issue right now that I hope to take care of.
Thank you very much. Okay, a follow-up question. Aaron, we'll start with you again. What about folks who do not share progressive values? This is something we heard about from questions submitted by members of the audience. There are Democrats who oppose abortion rights. There's an issue of private school vouchers that has split some Democrats. We had one question submitted under the assumption that Democratic policy positions on gun policy are sort of the sole reason that Democrats have lost elections. How should the TDP engage with folks who do not share what we might think of as progressive values and on those issues?
Thank you for the question. There are a lot of people with a lot of different stories that can be shared that can hopefully, at the very least, help these people that don't agree with this progression, so to speak, that could potentially happen to them. I'll give you a story of someone that I know. I can't say any names, but when they were in their early 20s, they had a 3-year-old, they had a 5-year-old, and I want to say they had a 1-year-old, and they were pregnant. And so the woman had a choice to make. It was either herself or the baby. And she still had babies. So it was a hard decision for her to make, but she made it, and she chose to live. So that meant that she had to abort the baby. I think sharing those types of stories, be it with gun violence, like Robb Elementary, with the people that don't necessarily believe in what we are pushing for in the rights that we feel are health care for women, I think sharing these stories is extremely important. I think that we failed as a party to share these types of stories because there are so many people, and you can, and right now, again, I bring back the Trump supporters, until it happens to you, you don't know how you're going to react. And that's what I feel that we can, these are the types of conversations that we can have for somebody who may not necessarily agree with us. Just look at it from our perspective. We're not giving every single woman out there that goes and has intercourse with somebody, a doctor, to say, hey, you got pregnant. Oh, no worries, you're going to go abort it. Because that's what they paint the picture as. That's not what it is. We're basically saying women have the right to choose in life and death situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Kendall?
I'm going to have a conversation with you right quick about math, because the reality is everybody may not be a progressive, but we are not winning elections right now, and we are not in a position to start throwing people off the boat, okay? We are a coalition party, and we win by welcoming people to the tent. Sometimes we will disagree with where they stand, but as long as they respect human rights, human dignity, and basic decency, and we can find some common moral threads like economic populism, which I believe is the issue that holds our entire working class folks together, right? If we can find a common moral thread, then they are certainly welcome there at the table with us. Now, I am not going to welcome people to the table that do not respect my brothers and sisters in this movement, because a part of being a coalition party is that we are in this together. You do not throw people overboard. Okay, we're in the foxholes together doing this. You deserve to be treated with dignity and with respect. And as long as you're willing to do that, we can have some ideological differences, come to the table and take back this state. Because I've heard from too many public school teachers who are losing their homes because they aren't getting cost of living adjustments. I hear from too many people who are telling me that they're working for $13 an hour trying to figure out how to pay their bills. There are 66 billionaires in this state that own more wealth than 70% of Texans combined. And at the point that we come together, this is not a culture war, it is a class war, and I'm here to stand on the front lines of that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Parker Mims.
Thank you, sir. And so I'm just going to piggyback on that because I agree wholeheartedly. I'm not sure what it means by what are we going to do with people who don't agree. We have to become one team, because what we want to do is win elections. When you start winning elections, then you can use your political power to start bullying your politicians. Okay, I'm going to use the word bully, but you know what I mean. That's when you're interacting with them. Right now, Governor Abbott does not give a about Democrats, and that's why he's becoming a Nazi, right? That's why he's not putting abortion on the ballot. That's why he's not putting these things on the ballot, because he's not afraid that we're going to ever have the capital pull, and by capital, I mean be able to get people elected. And even if we don't get them elected, we got to be able to come close. So we got to start winning elections, and we got to start being inclusive in our messaging. We shouldn't have to change messages every time we go to a different group of people. Republicans don't do that. The message that works, that drives people to the polls, is economics. It is not my opinion. I am a black woman. Nobody gives a damn about any aspect of my life. But we all care about how much money we have to pay our bills. If I can get my refrigerator fixed, or do I have to not get my car fixed? Kitchen table topics. It started the American Revolution. It started the Civil War. It's what killed Martin Luther King, and it is what drives people to the polls. So let's talk about winning elections.
All right, thank you. Patsy.
I'm going to tell you a couple of stories in answer to that question. I was sitting on my back porch at my ranch one Sunday afternoon, and my little evangelical right-wing brother called me. And he said, Patsy, I figured it out. I know why you're so liberal. And I said, really? Tell me. What? He said, because Daddy was so rough on you. And you know what my response was? Well, Kenny, I don't know. I'll think about that. But actually, it's how I live my values, and it's how I live my faith. And I think as progressives and as Democrats, that has to be foundational to everything we do. Our values, our faith has to be the foundation. And then we open up the tent and we talk about our message. And I agree, our message has got to be focused on what our voters want to hear about. And if it is, and we have the right infrastructure, the right ground games, the best candidates, we will win. And it is all about winning elections.
Thank you very much. Patricia.
Ask the question again.
The question is, how do we respond to folks who don't share progressive values, pro-life Democrats,
Gotcha.
et cetera?
Gotcha. So I served in the Marines from 2001 to 2013 under, during the first couple of years was under George W. Bush. And I always say this, when my nation called me up to serve, I answered that call, right? I didn't ask if that president was Democrat or Republican, right? There was some ideals that we could come to the table with. When I was fighting on the front lines, I was part of a special team of 47 servicewomen that had been trained not just in cultural tactics, but also infantry tactics so we can engage with the local Afghan population. When I was in those fighting holes, when shit was going down and the bullets were flying past my head, I didn't ask the Marines to my right and to my left if they were Democrat or Republican. There were some issues that we can come together on and agree. And so I always want to take that mentality forward. Now, are we going to be able to bring everybody to the table? Hell no. You know, we don't want to at the table. If you can't understand that everyone deserves kindness and humanity and respect for the things that they believe in, then you and I cannot agree. But the main issue, the way that we get to that point where we're winning statewide elections is infrastructure, making sure that we're investing in the county chairs and the county parties. Yeah, so infrastructure.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to transition into some questions about the role of TDP chair and about party business here soon. So first, let's talk about TDP chair. I'm going to confess something. I'm not an expert in the rules and bylaws of the Texas Democratic Party, thank God. But it is my understanding that the rules and bylaws of the Texas Democratic Party will require the TDP chair to be a full-time job. A couple of our candidates up here, Mr. Scutter and Ms. Parker Mims, I believe have other employment. So whether I got the rules right or not, the question that folks want to know is, will you commit, and this is for all of our candidates, will you commit to being a full-time chair of the Texas Democratic Party for 40, 60, 80 hours a week? And we'll start with Aaron again and work our way down.
Yes, I too have obligations. I have a family. I have 3 kids. They go to school. They play every sport you could think of. It has to absolutely be a full-time job, or we're not going to win this race in Texas. We're talking about winning races and trying to make a change in the Texas Democratic Party. This has to absolutely be your job, 100%. Anything else, aside from family and things that happen, is secondary. And that's just what it has to be. And so with that, that's how we're going to be able to see the change. And this is not going to happen overnight. We know that, right? Essentially, right now, we are at ground zero in Texas. Okay, we got our butts handed to us. But we also have a lot of grassroots organizations, like the Texas Progressives, like the Texas Grassroots Organization, Moms Against Greg Abbott. You know, we got a bunch of organizations that we can couple together, work with, and make this change that we need to make. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? We already have somewhat of a foundation, and the only way to look is up. So yeah, it has to absolutely be a full-time job.
All right, thank you. Kendall.
I think this is kind of a funny question. Is Kendall too poor to be party chair? I think you should be asking if some people are too rich to be party chair. You know, why is it always working people that are asked to sit aside and not take the lead when we're in the middle of a movement to build this state? I'm here to be a full-time party chairman. You know I'll do it because you've seen me do it in the role I'm in now. The amount of miles and time that I have put in the field going around this state and meeting and helping folks build, you know that I am here full-time and that I'm here to do what we got to do to move this forward. my wife is still going to have to work. And I'm not going to be shutting down my land acquisitions company, guys, because we've got bills. But yes, of course I'm here to be a full-time. You know I'll do it because you've seen me do it. And I do want to reject the premise of this a little bit because I don't like this idea that there are people that are too poor or that aren't wealthy enough to be able to be in leadership of our party. If you are ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work, you're welcome to the table. I've traveled this state. Never once have I filed for a reimbursement for any of the travel that I've done. I have flown around this state and driven. I drove over 35,000 miles on my pickup last cycle, helping you guys in your counties where I could. And I'm sorry that I grew up poor on a Purple Hole pea farm in East Texas, and my daddy doesn't own the land a single wide sitting on, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we're building a grassroots movement that let working people sit at the table and lead this movement.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna actually ask a follow-up question. So I did hear you work in there. You're not gonna get rid of your land acquisition company?
No.
Okay,
No.
fine. It's up to you. I just want folks to hear the answer. All right, Ms. Parker Mims.
Well, for more clarification, I'm actually running for a job right now that is volunteer. And I'm in a position right now that's volunteer. As many of you guys know, I'm a lawyer. I'm on the tail end of that. So when I was asked that question, and in some questionnaire, would I leave my job? Well, not right now because it's volunteer. Being TDP chair at this point for this term that I am running for. But if I was chair in the 2026 term that is paid, thank you, Jesus, for paying that, because in order for us to flip this state, we have to stop worrying about volunteers. I already spend more than 40 hours a week working as chair in Denton County. As a lawyer, I trust me, it won't be hard for me to give up that job, because if you know anything about lawyers, you know we're about ready to give it up after 5 years. I look good, but I've been doing it a little bit longer than 5 years. And what I have found is that I am good at what I do. I know how to motivate. I know how to inspire. I know how to tear down, build up, and put people back in action. I know how when volunteers say, I want to help, to go back, get them, and put them in a structure to do that. And you need somebody full-time. And really, county chairs need to be paid. We really need to figure out how to start paying people who are doing all of this grassroots work. And the end result of the way I think and the way I've trained is that you operate like a business, and you need to do that full-time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Woods Martin, will you be a full-time chair? Do you have other outside employment?
I do. I raise cattle. But I have a team that will cover that for me, that I trust, and they'll cover that for me going forward. Look, when I was at Annie's List, I traveled all over the state. I built steering committees in McAllen, El Paso, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth. That didn't happen because I sat on my tail in Austin, Texas. It happened because we all went out and built relationships in those communities. I know that this job is more than a full-time job, and I expect to commit more than 40, 50, 60 hours a week. That's what it takes.
Thank you very much. Patricia.
I'm retired, so I'm lucky. I got the time to commit. No, seriously. So like I was saying before, I used to be the executive director for Service Women's Action Network in Washington, D.C., working on Capitol Hill, Department of Defense, and Department of Veterans Affairs. I left that because I wanted to come back to Texas. I knew how important it was to win statewide elections, to make sure that the Democratic infrastructure here in Texas can support these candidates, right? And that we're putting out wonderful candidates in these races. I'm sorry, I totally blanked out right now. And so my point is this. In 2020, I trained to be a campaign manager through Blue Leadership Collaborative. I actually had the opportunity to get to meet Jeff. But after becoming a campaign manager, I went to go work in Bell County for Kiki Williams in House District 54. That's actually where I got to meet Clayton. I've done work in Webb County with Sylvia Bruni. I've helped candidates down there without getting paid. I've worked in Travis County with Diana Limon Mercado and was actually an apprentice at Planned Parenthood Texas Votes. I've also worked in Fort Worth with city council candidates. I've been all over the state doing this for free since 2020. And so that is the leadership and that is the motivation that I'm bringing to this role.
All right, thank you very much. All right, it's time for the most scintillating topic, which is the Texas Democratic Party convention. We're going to keep going. I'll moderate. Thank you. At the state convention, how will you ensure that delegates receive timely agendas, that votes are counted efficiently and transparently, and how will you work to maintain quorum? Tell us your vision for a well-run TDP convention. Aaron, that's for you.
With not trying to get into like too much of the past, just transparency and making all the SDCs and all the people that are voting know that their vote was counted and was not overlooked, and that the greater good of Texas is in the heart of the TDP chair and not in, I don't really want to say what I know, and I think a lot of you guys may know, but you know, I think transparency is going to be a big deal, and I think every single SDC chair, every single person that votes should have their vote counted honestly, right? And should have their voice heard, or their voice heard, because they're essentially representing a group, a block of Texans, right, that they're casting their vote for, right, and for the Texas Democratic Party. So I believe that transparency is going to be the biggest key to making sure that everybody's vote gets counted, honestly.
Right. Thank you very much. Kendall.
Let me start by telling you that I don't care what the vote total says. There was a quorum at the end of the last convention. And what I think is inappropriate is when leaderships put their thumbs on the scales to get things the direction they wanted. That's why I stood at the front of the room and voted in favor of ranked choice voting for this race, and why I have a 100% voting record with the Progressive Caucus. Because these conventions are not my convention. They're your convention. The SDEC is not my SDEC. It's your SDEC. And unless something is in a terrible way going to hurt our party, there is no instance in which the chair should be putting their thumb on the scale and telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And so the way I intend to maintain a quorum is by treating you as delegates like you're adults. And if I don't want something passed, we can get someone up to give a speech about why they don't think it should pass. And you, as a intelligent human, can make your decision of how you're going to vote on that. I don't know why that would be a controversial statement. And so that's how I'd maintain it, is treating you with respect, treating our grassroots with the respect that they deserve and that they've earned.
All right, thank you. Chair Parker Mims, next to you.
From the very beginning, as a county chair, and a county chair that actually increased Democratic turnout 2 elections in a row, I did feel unappreciated, not seen, heard. I'm from El Paso, so I was excited to go to the convention in El Paso. So what I think is important when I say I want to operate like a business, that's what we did in Denton County. That's how I think that's what we're going to do. We create organizational structure. One way to increase engagement is to get people involved in planning it, being a part of the process. I was never asked anything about the convention as one of the 254 county chairs, or however many county chairs we have, right? I didn't really even know how to find what was going on the agenda. So I believe, first of all, I believe everything needs to be torn down, and we need to rebuild it, and we need to we need to have a convention committee that is more inclusive of us in the party, who have a say-so of what's happening at the convention. When you have a vested interest in the process, then you're going to stick around to see how it works more. We did that when we increased our fundraising. We employed the idea of bringing people into the process. It helped them to become more engaged, and they ended up giving us more money. We do the same thing in the convention. We work more with our county chairs, our delegates, and make people feel like we're part of one team, right? I didn't feel like I was part of one team.
All right, that's time. Thank you very much. Patsy, talk about the convention.
So I think we need to step back and look at what the purpose of the state convention is. and all be on the same page about that. I frankly think precinct chairs ought to be automatic delegates to the state convention. There are 11,000, as I understand it, but the people who are doing the work need to have the voice in where the party's going. I think that's critical. You know, the Democratic Party in Texas, in this broader ecosystem, doesn't have sometimes suffers from lack of trust. And lack of trust is because sometimes things are not transparent. And we've got to be transparent as a party. We've got to hold ourselves accountable. We've got to report our successes and our failures. And we've got to work with the leaders in this party, like all of you in this room, to build a plan to go forward and hold ourselves accountable for actually achieving the goals with that plan.
Thank you very much. Patricia.
One more time, the question.
The question one more time is, see, I even need to reread it. At the state convention, how will you ensure that delegates receive timely agendas, votes are counted efficiently and transparently, and how will you work to maintain quorum? Talk about a well-run state convention.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry. When I was in the Marines, again, and I'm gonna keep going back to it, you know, because like they say, once a Marine, always a Marine. I haven't gotten rid of that mentality, right? And that's where I learned my leadership. As we were being trained, we always were taught to respect our troops, to teach them, to training, so that way eventually they can take over, right? And so that's how I feel with our own infrastructure within the Democratic Party, right? Why aren't we respecting the county chairs and the delegates? Why aren't we bringing them to the table to be able to say, you lead the party, I'll provide the mission, the values, and the leadership, but you guys are the ones that are running the show. And let me tell you something, when I was in the Marines, if shit went downhill, someone was gonna have to answer. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting timely agendas. There's no reason why you shouldn't know what's happening. You should be the first ones. You should be involved. You should be giving the respect that we can say to you, you lead this. It's your show. You're running it. I'm just here to make sure that shit goes right.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we're gonna stay on party business, I guess, and the organization that is the Texas Democratic Party, and talk about county chairs and precinct chairs. So, Aaron, let's start with you. What work will you do to recruit and support county chairs and precinct chairs?
Yes, involvement in the communities. There's a lot that we can do to recruit. Fundraising, for example. We can create, so there's a lot of, as you all may know, somebody mentioned, they laughed when they said 254 chairs. We don't have that many chairs. We have way less than 254. There's so many counties in Texas that don't have a chair. You know, our representation is obsolete and we wonder why we're getting whooped. But I'll tell you this, being in those areas and cultivating these relationships that I keep talking about, being involved with these people, being involved in their communities, parking that trailer like I mentioned before, going into the community, being involved, going talking with them. How about we throw a block party? That's how we're going to vet these people and bring them in and say, hey, I think you should be run for the Democratic chair. And gradually, right? From that point forward, we're going to go into, you know, school boards and so forth. We got to start from the inside. One of the ways, one of the problems we have is funding for these parties and these candidates in these areas, and we need to do something about that. I got some numbers right there on the budget. We always start the year with about, and again, this is an open secrets because I don't know the actual numbers, you know, I don't know if it's been shared or not, but through open secrets, we always average the year about 86,000 to 115,000. That's how we start the year. Some years we raise 8 million, some years we raise 8. A lot of it get transferred out to national candidates. I think there's money that we can reallocate to these chairs that they could use so that they could build their communities and we could support.
All right, you're at time. Thank you. Kendall, talk about county chairs and precinct chairs.
Yeah. county chairs are the hardest job in our party. I'm speaking as someone who's done it, okay? And I feel that they're often treated as if they are annoying or getting in the way. And of course they are angry. Of course they are yelling. They don't have any support. And thank goodness for people like Kay Parr and Larry Davis, who've been reinvigorating the Texas County Chairs Association. To me, you roll in the TDCCA, and that's now an official branch of our party under my chairmanship. And we take leads from people like Kay Parr, who's advocating for our county chairs. I'm going to make a commitment to you right now that is embarrassing to make. I'm going to bring the phone back. I mean, it's embarrassing to say it. And for those who aren't familiar, if you're a county chair, you don't even have a phone number you can call. So what do you do if you have a problem? You just start, hopefully you have a relationship with somebody that's in the office and maybe you can get a hold of them. Poor Marco, right? And so I'm here to tell you, I understand what y'all are going through because I've been there. That's what makes me unique in this race, okay? Is that I've been a part of this apparatus trying to fix it, okay, this whole time. Running against establishment when I had to and winning. And I am really excited about the prospects of being able to give our county chairs the respect that they deserve, bringing them back into the fold, because the idea that you can run an entire grassroots operation out of Austin is stupid. It can't happen. And it's going to take strong county parties to get us there.
Y'all watch the glamour of being a moderator. Actually, you want to just put... Now, I'm sorry, Chair Parker Mims, do you know anything about county chairs and precinct chairs?
No, not too much. Can you repeat the question? No.
Just talk about county chairs and precinct chairs. How will you support and recruit county chairs and precinct chairs?
We flip Texas through our county parties. Let me say this again. We flip Texas through our county parties. So our county parties do need resources. And I will tell you what distinguishes me from everyone. I love what everybody's saying and some of the things. What distinguishes me is that I am the county chair who came in a county that was burning up like everybody else. Increase volunteerism. See, as a county chair, my money is volunteer, right? As a county party chair, my money is get people motivated, inspired. Okay, I've increased volunteer work. As a county chair, we have increased precinct chairs. You know why? Because we had a plan. That is how I operate.
Let's try switching back.
The microphone is saying I don't believe you.
We're not going to count this against your time.
Great. So as a county party, we've increased precinct chairs. You know how we did that? We made it our plan. I agree with Miss Patricia. Is that how you pronounce it? You said Riars. The leadership sets the tone, sets the agenda, creates, does not by themselves, but my leadership style is to create a strategic plan. That is what we did, and that is what we stuck to. Our goal was to increase Democratic turnout. That means as county chair, I was able to be a bold leader and say, no, we're not gonna do that because it doesn't increase turnout. We're gonna do this because it increased turnout. We worked with committees, we worked with PACs to do other things. We don't work against them. Mother Against Greg Abbott gave us money. That's what distinguishes me, and we've...
All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna keep restating the question as we get halfway through here so that y'all haven't forgot it by the time we get over to you. Okay, Patsy, what about county chairs and precinct chairs? What work will you do to recruit and support county chairs and precinct chairs?
Well, there's a reason that the Texas Democratic Party chair is a 80-hour-a-week job if you do it well. And that's because you are on the road building relationships. On top of that, raising dollars so that you can support the county chairs. I couldn't agree more that our precinct chairs, led by our county chairs, are the foundation of this party. They're how we're going to win races. And we've got to, as a state party, develop a message, communicate that message to our county chairs, and empower them to spread that throughout their counties so that we can actually win a race. And you know what? once we start winning races, everybody's going to want to join us.
All right, thank you. Patricia, county chairs and precinct chairs, how will you recruit and support them?
It's about money. At the end of the day, you know what? We can't do anything without money. We need to be paying the county chairs. We need to be funding, training our precinct chairs. I'll tell you this for Harris County, right? Because that's where I'm from. We have so many precinct chair positions empty. And we cannot recruit precinct chairs because they know the support that they've received in the past has been minimal, very minimal. At the end of the day, all of this, what it's gonna take is money, making sure that we're not sending those donation dollars, that money that we're bringing into the state party, making sure that it stays in Texas and that it goes back to our people, that it goes to those county chairs, that it goes to those precinct chairs, that it goes to everybody doing the work on the ground.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Would you mind if I add
we have a
something?
request for a rebuttal. So actually, I heard Aaron first, and then Chair Parker.
Yeah, I just want to add something. There's another side to that with the county chairs. There are counties that you get targeted if you're a Democrat, period. If you vote Democrat, I know somebody who ran in a county that was so red that she ran as a Democrat for, 20 years. First time as a Republican, she gets elected. So there's another side to that. That's why I keep referencing this, these relationships that we need to cultivate. We need to be involved. We need to be there. We need to have some sort of representation with the Democratic Party, sign on it, and doing fundraisers, donating, school drives, etc. So, there's another side to that, and it can be dangerous. And you can see why a lot of people don't like to run in rural Texas. They don't want to spend no money because, like Carl Rose said, they hunt Democrats in Amarillo, Texas, like dogs.
All right, thank you. Chair Parker Mims, you wanted to add to this as well?
Yes. I wanted to say it's not just about money. When Denton County increased turnout the first year I said as chair, we had a great fundraising boom, and it was a targeted fundraising effort. We raised money. We were able to put about $2,000 in our Get Out the Vote. It may not sound like a lot, but for a county, if you were a county chair, you know that's a lot of raising money. But the next year, we still increased turnout, but we had a smaller budget. It's because we already had, we increased the economies of scales. We already had a process. We already knew what we were going to do, and we were already increasing our volunteerism. So it's not just money.
All right, thank you. I heard Kendall and then Patricia.
I want two more points. One is, oftentimes rural and small town county chairs come to us and they say that they need help, and we look at them and we say, well, we don't have any money. Well, they didn't ask you for money. They asked you for support, and they asked you for help. And so people like K-Par, Larry Davis, Carmen Seaberg, Bart Ewald, who are going around the state recruiting these county chairs, they understand we have to put a plan together to get this accomplished. I want to tell a quick story. I actually have experience recruiting county chairs because when I was on the SDC, I had counties in my district that didn't have county chairs. And you know what I did? I drove to Cooper in Delta County and walked into the Dairy Queen where the old men were drinking coffee. I walked at the table and I said, anybody here a Democrat? And they put me in contact with people, and we went down the chain of command until we found a person who was a Democrat that would take over as county chair.
All right.
It's that kind of grassroots stuff we have to do to start filling the 55
That's a good anecdote,
vacancies.
and we're going to get to Patricia next, and then we'll move on to our next question.
Yeah, so I just want to go back to the money issue, right? And this is why I say that you need money. Everybody always puts in money to these GOTV programs, right? But they don't tell you where it's going. It's going to consulting. It's going to mail programs. It's going to digital programs. That's not what we need. This money needs to go to the people that are on the ground so we can do field, so we can do block walking, so we can do the canvassing of these neighborhoods. So we're talking to people directly. So it's about allocating that money to the right resources.
All right, thank you. Patsy, you don't want to add anything, do you? Okay, all right. All right, let's keep talking about organizational leadership. We'll start again with Aaron at this end. Hey guys, I swear to God, if you're not happy with the order, you can go stand outside. It's hard to keep it straight, okay? I'm not, I do love robust democratic engagement. All right, speaking of the TDP, let's talk about organizational leadership. Tell us about the largest and most diverse organization you've led, and please tell us how you'll build a winning culture at TDP.
Yes, good question, and thank you. I ran a campaign in 2024 to run for the U.S. Senate, right? And it was tough. From phone banking, in the beginning, we had a lot of momentum going, but then you had rolling through his name in the hat, calling through his name in the hat. They sucked out a lot of the air out of our room. Let's just put it that way. But you know, we still kept the course. One of the ways that I feel that we can raise money for a big organization like the Texas Democratic Party is to, I mentioned before, we could do these, like in these counties, we could do block parties where we could do fundraising for, so that we could support these offices in these small counties, right? I've done phone banking. We've hired third-party consultants to do the fundraising for us, to have, you know, just texts and tweets and messages on social media ready to deploy, right? But, you know, I think ultimately, the biggest thing that we have to do is get back to donors that are already out there. We have a long list of donors in the SEC.gov website or the FEC.gov website that we could pull a list from. A lot of those donors are given to people like Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, right? How about we reach out to those people and say, hey, look, we have a local party here. Why don't you reallocate some of those funds? And I'm telling you, some of those donors are donating $15,000, some of them $50,000 a year. That could be changing for local chairs and local counties. So that's what I feel we could do. There's a lot.
All right. Absolutely. Plus, the largest, most diverse organization and at TDP.
Well, the largest organization, city elected, where I am one of the directors of the Dallas Central Appraisers, 2 million Texans, jurisdictions, and the last so efficiently that we were $800,000 to finance. So that's the largest organization. One of the vice chairs of the Texas Progressive Caucus, I brought it back, I've run the floors, I've been chair before, different organizations that I work for. I think the key to the diversity piece is intention. Appointed to the conventions committee so that she could work on accommodations issues for us and make sure that our committees were more accessible. It became a whole thing because we don't typically appoint people who aren't on the SDC to committees, but it was important to have that intentionality, right? And make sure that we're including diverse perspectives and points of view at the table. And you can know that I understand that I'm a white guy from East Texas who has to make sure that there's other perspectives and points of view sitting at the table, and I'll make sure to be as inclusive as I can, and if I'm not, my cell phone is very easy to get. It's at kendallscutter.com, and just call me, and let's talk about ways that we as a party can do better.
Wonderful, thank you. Chair Parker Mims, please tell us about the largest and most diverse organization you've led and how you'll build winning culture at the TDP.
Well, I'll have to speak in terms of current, because the largest organization I've read is being chair of the Denton County Democratic Party, which is the 7th largest county in the state of Texas. We have over 1 million people. And when I sat down in this seat as chair, we were already having a civil war, but it was more in terms of, I guess, age, because there's all kinds of ways where people can be left out. And for some reason, that's what happened when I got there. I don't understand that at all. At this current time, we have more people of color, more women of color. We have a diverse group of people in our leadership, from the top of the generation to the bottom, and we have every group, and it is intentional. That is a great word to use. You have to be intentional about making sure there are more people at the table. As chair, what I would do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop. We need to stop. Create a strategic plan, fundraising, engagement, registration, get out the vote. Engagement is how we increase people's activities. Engagement with the Progressive Caucus. Empower the Progressive Caucus to increase engagement with young people. Empower the Black Caucus to increase engagement with Black people in the Texas. Because just by voting for a chair is not going to get you engagement. Having a system that empowers everybody to be involved is how you increase engagement. And I'm so glad to hear that we've got some social media things that we can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Paty Woods Martin, please tell us about the largest and most diverse organization you've led and how you'll build a winning culture at TDP.
I'm going to actually answer your question, Jeff. I actually was the Vice President of Resource Development at United Way Capital area, where I managed a team of 15 full-time staff and about 15 seasonal staff. And with that, we raised about $18 million each and every year to go directly into the community. And at Annie's List, I managed a team of about 7, that sounds right. And it was a diverse team because I believe, like Nancy Pelosi, our strength is in our diversity, and our power is in our unity. We've got to have voices from every community in order to be the strongest we could possibly be. You know, the Texas Democratic Party is huge. And we've got to focus on winning races, building a plan to do that, and empowering people from the precinct chair up through officers in the SDEC to do the work in order to win elections.
Thank you very much. Patricia, tell us about the largest and most diverse organization you've led and how you'll build winning culture at the TDP.
I think you guys already know which is the most diverse and large organization that I've led, but I don't want to focus too much on that. I will say this, though, as a 26-year-old sergeant in Iraq, I led 3,000 Marines and sailors, and it was up to me to make sure that I was handling operations and logistics to make sure that they had the resources that they needed on the front lines. In Afghanistan, I did the same thing, but I don't want to focus on that too much. I do want to talk about the work that I've done in Texas. Like I said, in 2020, I was a campaign manager running a competitive state house race, and so I had to work with other campaign managers across the state, with the HDCC, with the DCC, with the DLCC, and all that, all these diverse coalition partners to make sure that we were making things happen on the ground. On Capitol Hill, same thing, working with the Department of Defense, working with Department of Veterans Affairs, and members of Congress to make sure that we were enacting policies that would help veterans, you know, and that's a very difficult task, especially when you're a woman veteran. You would think that that brings some sort of cachet or respect, but no, you have to work 10 times harder just to prove your point. And working with all those diverse stakeholders is very hard, but making sure that the message was out there and that they understood what it was that we were trying to do. And so that's what I'll bring to the road. That's what I'm going to bring to the state of Texas. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Hey, before I ask my next question, just so y'all know, we did actually tell the candidates that we were going to go in order of being seated. So this is a desire to stick with the rules that we told the candidates so it feels fair and predictable. But what I will keep doing is restating the question every time so that everybody has a chance to hear it and so the audience has a chance to hear it before each audience candidate answers. So speaking of TDP, Aaron, you're up next. Tell us about the work that you have done with the party over the last 6 to 8 years, specifically your engagement with the Texas Democratic Party itself.
Yeah, I helped, I've been in various campaigns. I've worked with trying to get local people elected. I've worked with John Lida, CD 23. I've worked with Manuel Limon, CD 23 again. We can't seem to get Tony Gonzalez away. I've worked with various candidates, and again, I say that with the information that we've gathered, that I've gathered, you know, and even just, you know, local candidates trying to run for a judge position in places like San Angelo, Texas, right? We have not had much support there, right? And like Kendall said earlier, a lot of these candidates are not asking for help. They're not asking for money, they're asking for help. And a lot of that has to do with us just being there, helping them block walk, getting their name out there. How about the TDP chair share a list of the candidates that are running? You know, things like that, getting the exposure, bringing it up to the DCCC and saying, hey, what can we do to get these candidates elected? And that's what's happening, you know. That's been my involvement with the Texas Democratic Party, but the long and the short of it is this. We need to give any candidate, be it a local or a state, we need to give them the exposure that they can have so that they can have an opportunity to try to win. And I think that there are a lot of powerful people on a lot of platforms that have the ability to do that. It's just a matter of wanting to do it, right? So.
All right, thank you. Kendall,
Yeah.
Tell us about your work with the Texas Democratic Party specifically.
We're going to need more than 90 seconds, y'all. Okay, when I was 12 years old, I was raised by lesbians in East Texas. When I was 12 years old, Republicans were trying to take kids like me out of our homes and put us in foster care, so I started working. And for the last 22 years, I've served on every level of our party, from precinct chair all the way up to where I'm at now. It wasn't because I was some Nepo baby. It wasn't because we had any connections. I took my parents to vote for the first time they ever voted. It's because I worked my ass off. And when I held those positions, it wasn't just to hold them. I actually worked to create change and make our party better. And I want to brag about something for a second, because I'm really proud of the financial reforms we've made at the party. Whenever I first got on the SDEC, we weren't allowed to look at budgets before we voted on them. And I spearheaded an effort to make sure that all budgets were transparent. SDEC members got town halls that county chairs were included on, and we were all able to engage in the budgeting process, because this is your party. It's not the party of just a small group of people locked in establishment in Austin. And I fought to open that up. If you think it's easy, then you don't understand establishment in this apparatus. I stuck my neck out to do it when other people were afraid to do it. And I want to give props to Judge Chris, who was the Finance Committee chair, who actually let that happen. It was brave of her to do it. It was brave of her to do it. But it was important to make sure that you own this party. This is your party. And I know that because I've been in the trenches with you. If you put me as the chair of your party, you get one of you to be the chair of the party. Not somebody that's advocating for establishment and backroom deals, but somebody who's busting this party wide open so that we can make sure that working people have a seat at the table.
All right. Chairwoman Parker Mims, tell us about the work you've done with the Texas Democratic Party specifically.
Well, I've been a delegate at the TDP convention for quite a few times, voting for SD. Is this personal?
No, ma'am. We can assure you it's straight to this microphone.
I would like a working one. Thank you, ma'am. So, I mean, I've started off as a precinct chair. I've started off as a donor. Every time I've been on the ballot, I've increased Democratic turnout. People get excited. But my involvement with TDP has been being a delegate at the convention. Guess what? I think that is great, because when you got a business that ain't doing what it's supposed to be doing, you go out and you get you a new CEO that is going to take it down, not be tied down to the old ways or think that the way they used to do that ain't working anyway is something that we have to do, but just throw more money at it. So I'm going to tell you right now, my plan and the way I think is we're going to stop. I said that several times. Stop, drop, and roll, right? We learned that when you're on fire, you stop, drop, and roll. We're on fire right now, right? We are on fire right now. So you need a CEO who comes in, who knows how to build an organizational structure that empowers all of us to go out in the state of Texas and win elections. So it's not about the CE. It's not about the chair engaging. It's about the chair being bold, creating a vision, and having the courage to stick to that plan until we win. Okay? So we're going to stop, drop, and roll. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me pause real quick and ask our AV team, is it okay that we switch mics like this? Are we good to go? Okay. I'm going to keep this mic right here so the cord doesn't bend. Ms. Woods Martin, I'm going to ask this question a little bit differently to you. I've talked to a lot of SDEC members in advance of this forum, and one of the concerns we've had about your candidacy is that you haven't been involved in the state party, and there's this question of, is Patsy sort of swooping in? And so talk about what you've done with the Texas Democratic Party, and if you're swooping in, if you don't mind.
Swooping in, I kind of like that. Thank you for asking that question. I know it's on many of your minds. I haven't been intimately involved with the day-to-day working of the Texas Democratic Party. I've been a delegate on the platform committee, actually, in 2017. That's my only real involvement. I've taken a different path, and my path has been working directly in campaigns. I worked in Lloyd Benson's races. I worked in Ann Richards' races. I worked in John Hill's races. Some of y'all may be old enough to remember these folks. But I got in a minivan and I went county to county in deep East Texas, meeting with county chairs, meeting with the local newspaper in order to get John Hill's message out. I then was at Annie's Nest for 4 years, where I worked side by side with Democratic Party staff. All of that to win elections so that we can gain power across this state. And that's the only way that we really change policy.
All right, thank you, Patsy. Patricia, tell us about your involvement with the Texas Democratic Party in the past.
Sure. Well, other than having been a campaign manager, I'll tell you right now, I have not had, or I've not been intimately familiar having done work specifically for the TDP. And I'll tell you why. That has not been for a lack of trying. I can tell you how many times I've reached out, how many times I've applied, and it's like no response. I don't know how many times I've submitted my resume because I've wanted to do the work here. I don't even get an interview, if you can believe it. With all the experience that I have and everything, even on a volunteer, but nothing. It's radio silence, and that is the issue. When you talk about why we have, county chairs, that are taxed and, that feel disenfranchised, why we talk about precinct chairs that feel disenfranchised. Can you imagine if you're a volunteer? I mean, when somebody like me that has the experience, that has managed state house campaigns, that has worked at the national level, that have managed campaigns up at the national level, what hope is there for the rest of us that want to volunteer, that are precinct chairs, that are voters, that want to work with the TDP? And that's why I decided that I wanted to run for the seat, because I have that unique experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we have a specific follow-up to this topic. It's directed to you, Mr. Scutter. And this question was submitted by multiple members of the Progressive Caucus, and it has to do with your role as Vice Chair of Finance of the party. You're also a political consultant, and you lead a PAC to represent Texas. To have paid thousands of dollars in consulting fee to consulting firm strategies. Members of the caucus have asked and submitted this for discussion today. Is it ethical and appropriate for the TDP Vice Chair of Finance to raise money for an outside PAC that he controls, which then pays his own consulting firm? I'd like you to address those concerns.
So I stopped doing candidate political consulting when I became vice chair for finance because I thought that was inappropriate and it was a conflict. I do have a PAC called Represent Texas, and sometimes we do direct expenditures that put stuff in the field for candidates. And the way that I do that is that I run it through and do it at cost. So happy to bust open the books there for anybody that wants to hear about it, but the work that I do through, and if you also notice, I am one of the largest contributors to Represent Texas, where I have donated the most money there. So I use that as a mechanism because you have to have political disclaimers whenever you put things in the field. There are compliance requirements, and so I make sure that I run things through a PAC so that it isn't paid for me personally, it's put through a PAC. So that's how I operate that. Anybody wants to talk to me about it, I'm happy to. And thank you very much for that hit question, Jeff. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Thanks for the hit question.
The hit question. So I'm going to tell you, Kendall, y'all can laugh about it. That question was submitted by multiple members of the Progressive Caucus.
Awesome.
And I'm going to very respectfully say that, like, attacking the questioner who asked the question on behalf of the media organization, you might be in the wrong party's debate forum.
Thanks.
But you've motivated me to ask a follow-up, which is, as the Vice Chair of Finance, should you be focused on raising money for the Texas Democratic Party or raising money for another PAC?
When county party chairs call me and they ask me for help, I show up for them. I have helped fund texting programs and GOTV programs where they've needed it. And I am not a rich person who pays for that out of my pocket. I have a PAC where I help to fund some of those items whenever they come up. And so I do that because I do not get to unilaterally make decisions on how the party spends their funds. In fact, I have very little influence on what I'm able to do there, as those who have been following the party understand what my frustration is. So I am very proud of the work that I have done to help people on the ground. Anybody that wants to talk about it, holler at me and let's talk about it. But I think there's county chairs in the room that can testify to you today that I have used Represent Texas to help them on the ground, and I'm proud of it, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
That's great. I appreciate you answering the question. And Kendall, again, I'm like, you should know this. That question was submitted by folks out here, not by me. Let's change gears for a second, shall we? we've talked a little bit about the number about rural Texas, but we'd like to have a specific question about rural Texas. We'll start with Aaron again. Tell us about how you will engage and organize specifically in rural Texas. And passing the microphone down.
Yeah, I think I've elaborated on it specific or pretty, I harped on it pretty much the whole time I've been here. Listen, there's a lot of ways that we could raise money. We need to have a presence in rural Texas or we're gonna get our tail handed to us every single time, period. It's just not gonna happen. We can't bank on the urban vote all the time, although we can't take it for granted. We can't bank on it. We have to invest in these small little towns. And like I said, having exposure like these block parties that I keep discussing, I mean, I'm just saying, when I launched my campaign, I started with a group, a band, and I said, hey man, throw it up on stage and let's have some vendors and let's see who comes out. And a lot of people came out. And there was voter registration, right? There was all that going on. So we were able to recruit, so to speak, in that area. And did we recruit? Yes, we did, because a lot of the people, the turnout turned up big time in that little town. Here's what I'm saying. There's a lot that we can do. But I think the biggest thing that we need is representation. We gotta have somebody in there who ain't afraid to be told by some redneck Trump, excuse my language, that, hey, you don't belong here, man. Hey, well, you Democrats taking us to hell. No, sir, we're not taking you to hell. We're helping people, on the contrary, right? We're fighting for women's rights. We're fighting for Social Security. We're fighting for universal health care. So yeah, we gotta change the narrative, and we're gonna do that by being involved in all of these little counties, investing our time, and our personal money even, you know, taking people out to eat and saying, hey, what can I do to help you, and what can I get you to be a Democrat, right? Because a lot of people want to be a Democrat. A lot of people, values align with us, but they're told that it's wrong if they do in these small towns, all right?
Thank you. All right, Kendall, I know rural Texas is a passion for you. Talk about how you'll engage, organize, and win in rural Texas.
It has been. I have been a member of the non-urban caucus for decades now, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Rural organizing is where my heart is, and the reality is rural organizing is retail politics, and that's what we've completely lost as a party. We have turned ourselves into a party that locks our candidates in rooms and they beg for money so that they can keep consultants paid, and we have lost sight of the fact that we should be on the ground in these communities and working, and that is how you organize in rural communities. We empower our county chairs and our precinct chairs to do their jobs. We give them expectations that they would be happy to meet if somebody would just give them to them, right? And we build a grassroots infrastructure that's actually executed. And there are two trains of thought. There's this train of thought that, you know, you milk your votes out of super blue districts and try to flip the state. There's a train of thought that you've just got to do better in rural areas, and that's how we flip the state. The reality is you got to do both. And we are the party that put a man on the moon. We ushered in the Great Society and the New Deal. Surely we can organize in both rural and urban counties, right? I mean, it's silly to think that only one of those is the path forward. And I think that rural communities deserve representation. We have over 20 mid-sized cities in this state that if they were in any other state would be considered the population center. But we don't spend any time in Abilene. We don't spend any time in Tyler. I mean, I spend a hell of a lot of time in Tyler, but we don't spend any time in these mid-sized cities. And I think that we have to start in those mid-sized cities and work our way out.
Thank you very much. Chair Parker Mims, talk about rural Texas. How will you engage, organize, and win in rural Texas?
We treat rural Texas like the national party treats Texas. We kind of ignore them and just try to do whatever. You know, we go to our urban cities. In order to win, we're going to have to spread across the entire state of Texas. We flip Texas through our county parties. But not every county party has the same needs. In some county, their infrastructure needs to be built. They need to learn how to find volunteers. They need to learn how to engage better. In other counties, they may need to get more people registered. In Tarrant, I think they have enough Democrats to win, so they may need to get more people to the polls. In Denton, we need to continuously register because we have new people coming in. The point being, we have to strategically determine how we're going to address each of our counties, whether we lump them in rural or however we do that, and we do that with a strategic plan. That is what I offer, that is what I bring. We need to stop, create a strategic plan on how we're going to engage and work with our counties, including our rural counties. We have to continuously engage them and not ignore them like the national party ignores Texas. And in order to do that, we've got to say we are one team. We're not individual teams. We are one team of Democrats that have to work together looking at each other's needs specifically, because it's not one size fit all. We all have different needs, and now I'm talking about all the counties, but I can't give you a strategic plan that has not been created, and that is how I operate. We create strategic plans.
All right, thank you very much. Paty Woods Martin, talking about rural Texas. How will you engage, organize, and win in rural Texas?
I'm a planner too, Delia. I think we have to make a plan, but we cannot afford to stop. We've got an election coming sooner than later, and we need to be firing the incumbents right now. We need to be telling folks across rural Texas what these right-wing nut jobs are doing to their schools, to the women. I mean, this newly elected Brian Money in Hunt County just filed a bill to hold women criminal for getting health care. I'm sorry, the Texas Democratic Party ought to have a message that it ships out to our county chairs in that district that they can share with their constituents. We gotta fire these right-wing nuts first, and then we will lift up our good Democratic candidates to take their place. So, I didn't answer the question that time, did I, very well, except to start with, we need a template within the party that we can share out to the people who are doing the work. We need to be speaking with one message. We need to be investing time with all of our county party chairs, and we need to do it in a strategic way.
Thank you very much. And Patricia, please tell us how you'll engage, organize, and win in rural Texas.
So this is such an interesting question, and I'm so glad that Jeff is here. He probably doesn't remember, but when I became a campaign manager out in House District 154, one of the things that you told me, you said, it's a large area, and you're gonna have to make different plans for both of those areas because they're vastly different. And that's what we need to do with our rural areas, is we need to make a different plan for them. Yes, absolutely, you know, we should be talking about social issues. We should be talking about protecting our people and protecting our rights. When it comes to those rural counties, and one of the things that I noticed, you know, I grew up in Laredo. My ex-husband's family is from East Texas, Woodville, Silsbee, so it doesn't get much more rural than that, I'll tell you. But just driving up here, all the radio stations were Christian. Every radio station, right? It's like a Christian revival and all that stuff. And so yes, absolutely, the social justice issues are very important. And at the end of the day, at my heart, I'm a progressive and I'm always gonna fight for those, right? But how do we bring them into the fold? Well, let's start talking about, you know, kitchen table issues, right? We explain to them, it's like, why school vouchers are bad for them, because it's going to affect their public schools. They're the ones that are going to get shut down first. You know, a lot of people in the rural counties, I'll tell you more later.
All right, thank you, Patricia. All right, let's talk about every candidate that I've ever worked for's least favorite topic, and that is fundraising. It's amazing when it's time for the candidates to raise money, there's always like a very important other thing they have to do. Aaron, everybody in this room knows how large our state is. A serious statewide campaign at the top of the ticket for governor, for United States Senate, like starts at $50 million and could go to $100 million. What's your fundraising plans for the Texas Democratic Party?
Not to give it to the DNC. I think we start right there, right? I think that there are a lot of people who have funded the Texas Democratic Party through generous donations, thinking, or let me just say, they funded a party chair, for example. They've given a donation, but they've done it through the TDP website, and that money goes straight to the TDP account, and then they go straight to the DNC, right? We can't do it by giving money away. We need to invest money in Texas. So fundraising-wise, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of people who have given. I've spoken with on the phone who truly believe that every other Texan is a Trumper because they feel that they've been betrayed by their neighbor because of how they voted. because of the border crisis or whatever, right? We need to bring them back into the fold, as we all keep saying, right? We need to bring them back and say, hey, listen, I know you don't believe anymore. Let me give you something to believe in. And give them something to believe in. Go out there and work with them, work in their communities, and tell them why it is that they need to invest. Because I think that within Texas, you can be famous without ever leaving Texas, right? I call this the United States of Texas because you can become a country singer, you can become anything in Texas and be famous and be successful and make it a lucrative career, right? So I think that being able to keep that money within Texas, asking these people, I think Texas ourselves, Texans, can fund it. Now, bringing in other outside money, that'd be great. But ultimately, we cannot donate or we cannot transfer money out anymore. I think that there needs to be a serious look at what's been happening with the books, and my whole background is in finance, right? Look at the books and reallocate funds, and I know that there's ways that we can raise money, save money.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, Kendall, talk about your plans to raise money for the Texas
First I want
Democratic
to say,
Party.
taking a look at the books, I'm the guy who helped implement the permanent auditing for our party. We've been taking a really close look at the books, and a lot of the times when you see that money leaving, it's because our party is a compliance mechanism where it's used as a pass-through. I'm not going to spend all my time talking about that, because I could drone on about it for a bit. But we're not sending a whole bunch of money out. Frankly, here's the finance plan, guys. We got to take money from a bunch of different places. Number one, we need to stop sitting around and waiting for the cavalry to come. Okay, DC and DNC and those folks, the cavalry's not coming. We're the cavalry, okay? And so if you want to build a strong Democratic Party, there is a reality that we have to get serious about grassroots fundraising in this state. Directly asking people to become sustaining members of our party. We do it kind of half-heartedly, to be honest with you, where we send out a couple of emails. But who here has been directly asked to become a sustaining member of the Texas Democratic Party? It's a shame that there aren't more hands raised, right? Because when you have 10,000 people that are at a convention and they are not all sustaining members of the party, we're leaving a lot of money on the table, okay, number one. Number two, we have to be serious about trying to find ways to bring in large donors, large contributions. Maybe we should start talking about things like endowment programs, to set up endowments for each of our director-level positions to make sure that they're funded in perpetuity. That would require talking about to super wealthy folks about how do we set up will discussions where we're able to inherit those things. Those could also roll in discussions about headquarters. And then I think that the third prong of that is I think we've got to start also kind of looking at a state and getting serious, because if you look at the Electoral College map for 2030, there is not a path to the White House without the southern United States. Texas is the key to us ever holding the White House again, and if people nationally don't understand it and start investing money in it, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So
thank you very much.
Best I can do in 90 seconds.
All right. Chair Parker Mims, talk about your plans to raise money for the Texas Democratic Party.
Thank you so much. Well, let me share with you quickly in 30 seconds what we did in Denton County to raise money. First of all, I had the mindset and the vision that we were going to get money before it came, because I believe we have a story to tell that people want to invest in, and when you go out and ask the right people for money, you can do that. So in Denton County, we did that. We hired a professional fundraiser. We created the structure within the party so that when people gave us large donations, they could easily track how we were spending it, and we approached it as a business. As chair, I want to stop and create a strategic plan, fundraising, engagement, voter registration, and get out the vote. Fundraising. If I become chair, there's no reason why everybody on this sitting down right now should not be part of our fundraising process. If we operate as one team, we all have to contribute to help Texas be better. The first thing I want to say to Texas donors is keep Texas money in Texas. That is a campaign that I want to send out to the entire state of Texas, to those rich donors who are sending money out because they're so in love with those national people. We need to get our Texas donors to keep money in Texas, because just like Kendall said, if we want to get the White House, if it comes through the South, that is the message that we can get out to other people and to the people in our state who are giving large money. Another thing that I want to do is go out and get money from safe blue states. That's kind of what we did in Denton on a smaller scale. We created a professional outreach on what was happening with women, and top donors were saying, we don't want that to happen, and they donated. Stacey Abrams did that. We should do that as well. Go out and get money from our sister states.
Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Woods Martin, please tell us about your fundraising plans for the Texas Democratic Party.
I feel like this is a gift to be able to answer this question. I think we have to start by building trust in the Texas Democratic Party. People, and that starts with transparency. People want to give to turn Texas blue, but they're giving to all kinds of different things. So We've got to start with transparency, building trust, telling people what we're going to do, doing it, and telling people that we've done it. We can look at all kinds of mechanisms. I've actually launched an effort in Central Texas called Amplify Austin. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but that's a digital fundraising platform that has generated about $112 million in online giving. We can start there, but then we have to have conversations. We've got to ask people at all levels to support the work of something they can trust and something that will make a difference across the state. And thirdly, we got to ask people for money. We got to just ask. Back to your original thing with candidates not, hating call time, hating asking people for money. We've got to ask them for money, and then we've got to treat them not as ATMs, but as partners in this work.
All right, thank you, Ms. Woods Martin. Patricia, talk to us about your fundraising plans for the Texas Democratic Party.
Yeah, for sure. So there is nothing more that I love in this world than asking for money. I do. I know so many candidates out there hate call time, and I don't understand why. There's so many traditional means, right? And everybody up here has talked about it, right? Whether it's through digital, whether it's through emails, whether it's through, holding galas and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is that people don't make the direct ask. How many of you put up your hands when Kendall asked if you've been asked to be a sustaining member? There's only a few, right? Look at all the hands that did not go up. Why? Because nobody asked you to donate money. I was on 2 campaigns in 2020. Well, maybe I don't want to get too specific because I don't want people to get upset with me, but I will say this. In 2020, I worked for a candidate, and her and I had an amazing strategy. But you know what was the most important thing? She enjoyed doing call time because I made it easy for her. And you know how much money we raised on that campaign? $1.1 million for a state house, for a state house race. In 2023, I ran for Houston City Council. Unfortunately, I was redistricted out of that district and I couldn't continue. But in a month and a half, I raised $17,000.
All right. Thank you.
So
very
that should
much.
tell you something about
Patricia.
my fundraising plan.
Yeah, real quick, yeah.
On the topic of money, and this is with all due respect to Kendall, can you give a roundabout figure, more or less, on how much was donated to candidates for any election? Just a roundabout figure. With the finance, anyone specifically. Just, yeah, in general.
Yeah. So the state party has traditionally not been utilized as a mechanism to pass money from the party to candidates. So you very rarely find money that comes from the state party to candidates. So the number is probably closer to 0.
Okay. I just wanted to, I was just curious.
Okay. We good? You got, okay. Let's keep moving. I'm going to ask a question that is, I don't know, might make folks feel uncomfortable, but it is of vital importance to our work at the Barbed Wire, and that is about accountability not just for Republicans, but also for Democrats. Okay? Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar has been indicted on charges of bribery and money laundering. My colleague and our editor-in-chief, Olivia Messer, a decade ago, reported on allegations of sexual harassment and worse. Oh, there are the mic cuts. Sexual harassment and worse by State Senator Boris Miles, who is still in office today. How can the Democratic Party earn the trust of voters if the TDP is viewed as looking the other way when Democrats break the law? For our other candidates, should Democrats like Henry Cuellar and Boris Miles be in office today, or does their presence undermine the success of the Texas Democratic Party? Aaron, please go first.
No, they should not be. That's the short answer. And there should be a, thank you. First round of applause. No, I'm just kidding. But there should be a criteria that we have to meet that candidates have to abide by, right? And say that, no, we're not going to get into your county and tell you how to run your race, or we're not going to tell you what to do with money that you may have received fundraising. But there's a criteria that you have to follow morally to be a part of the Texas Democratic Party. Because we can't just turn the other cheek. We can't. This is why people don't vote, especially in these small towns. They think that every single politician is corrupt, and people like that are proving them right. And they lose hope. They already know that in these communities, it's a scary situation to be an immigrant right now, which is a topic I don't know how we're not talking about today yet, but I hope we do. But the immigration situation, that's already a scary topic or a scary thing happening in our country right now, right? And so the Democratic Party is the only party that's big enough, strong enough to take down the Republican Party and the rhetoric that they've been saying and the rhetoric that they've been spewing out about immigration, right? And we can't do that with corruption. So there has to be a statute, at the very least, a guideline that has to be complied with. Otherwise, you get purged or, whatever the rules are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Kendall, talk about Democrats like Henry Cuellar, Boris Miles, who have been indicted, accused of sexual harassment and worse. Do they undermine the Democratic Party? Should they be in office today?
If we are not meeting expectations of standard of behavior ourselves, it is unfair for us to expect it out of other people. We have to set a standard, and there is a problem when 1.1 million Democrats voted in 2020, didn't vote in 2024, and when you ask them questions about our party, they say we don't fight hard enough, but they also say they're all the same. And it really perpetuates that whenever we have elected officials who do not behave well. And we have an obligation to make sure that we are holding people accountable, whether they are in our party or they are out of our party. But we also need to make sure we're working with our local county parties to make sure that we're not stepping over them and doing what they may not want on the ground, right? Because we as a state party shouldn't come in and tell people what to do if the people in the county parties are sitting there saying, well, you know what, I really like the guy. I don't know what the problem is. There's got to be a balance there, and we have to build some trust there with our county parties. I would hope that as a party, we do not accept that type of behavior and that we would evacuate those types of people from positions of leadership in our party. And I would hope that we would be able to work with our county parties in that process to make sure we're doing it together. It cannot be a situation where we as an apparatus come in and unilaterally make decisions without coordinating with people on the ground. That to me is a huge sign of disrespect for the people on the ground. But surely we can work together to make sure that Democrats are having appropriate behavior and that they're being held to account whenever they aren't.
Thank you very much. Chair Parker Mims, same question to you about Democrats like Henry Cuellar and Boris Miles. Should they be in office today?
I don't truly understand the question. I don't know if that means should TDP do something to get them out of office, or what it is you're asking of TDP. Should they make a public disavowal of that bad behavior? I don't know what our ethics rules, but of course, we should stand up to the behavior that we expect from other people, right? And if we have someone in office who is not standing up to that behavior, I don't know, I'm not certain what the writer of the question is asking TDP to do. But I do support that we should live up to the standard. It's like America going around the country, going around the world, telling everybody about their standards of behavior, but yet, they had slavery, and at the same time telling other people what to do. So I do support that. But I do want to say this, after our candidates get past the primary, we are one team. Candidates should not have to go and try to convince you to vote for them if you are a true Democrat. Once you get past the primary, we need to support our candidates. Once we start winning elections, we will have the political power to then influence people who are in office. And if their behavior is not well, we can say, you know what, we're gonna primary you anyway, so you need to get out. But that only happens when we start winning elections. And then we have the political power to exert our influence over people in office. But certainly, we should behave better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Woods Martin, the same question to you about indicted Congressman Henry Cuellar, State Senator Boris Miles with multiple public accusations of sexual harassment and worse against him. Do Democrats like that undermine the party? Should they be in office today? And however you think you would solve that problem, not for me to say.
I'd primary him. And I have primaried, actually, at Annie's List. We primaried a state rep who was under indictment. We lifted a woman up and supported her in that race. And I may pay a price for that from now on, but you know what? It was the right thing to do. I also, when I was at Annie's List, and I think Boris Miles was running for the state Senate from the House, I stood up and said, unacceptable. And I may pay a price for that, but unacceptable is unacceptable. And we have got to set the standard if we're going to build trust in this party.
All right, thank you very much. Patricia, last question, or not last question, but you'll answer this question last. Do you want me to restate it, or do you got it?
No, and you know what? I actually have to admit something. Oh, I feel so bad, but I feel like it's part of my accountability. Senior year in high school, the teacher gave us an assignment, and he said, I want you to write a paper about one of your role models. And I started thinking, I was like, who here in Laredo can I go ask? At the time, I forget what he was at the time. He may have been a Texas representative or something like that. I go up to Henrique Cuellar's office and I ask him, I said, hey, the teacher said if I can get you to come, he'll give me an automatic A and I don't have to write the paper. Well, he did show up and stuff, right? But years later, we know the type of person he is, right? Let me tell you, those days, that 17-year-old did not know what type of man he is. And I would never support that. There's so many rumors that run rampant in Webb County and Laredo about that man. So many, but nobody does anything. Nobody does anything. They still take pictures with them, and it's this issue of going along to get along. And that is wrong. That should not exist. We cannot throw stones at glass houses when we have our own problems. We need to remember that when we're pointing the finger at Republicans and we're saying, hey, Ted Cruz, you're doing this. Hey, Governor Abbott, you're doing this. Remember, there's 3 fingers pointing back at us, and we need to be calling out our own bad actors.
All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna take a little moderator's pejorative here, or prerogative here, and look back at Clayton in the back of the room. Clayton, we are nearly at 4 o'clock. We have 5 candidates and 2-minute closing statements. Would you like us to go ahead to move on to closing statements, or would you like us to try to squeeze in one more question? No pressure.
How about this? We'll do some closing statements, then Christy and I will have a quick set of announcements. There's going to be a happy hour. We want to make sure you all know where those happy hours are. And there's going to be a lot of other questions, and you know what? I bet a lot of these folks
Folks aren't going anywhere. All right, for those of you on the live stream, we're going to move to our closing. For those of you on the live stream, we're going to move to our closing statements now. You know what? I'm going to do something I really shouldn't do. I'm going to let the audience decide. Do y'all want to start with Patricia at this end? All right, Patricia, it's up to you. No offense down here, but I'm trying to take some feedback, trying to be better about that in my life. And this way I don't have to keep track of who I'm going to because we're only doing one. So Patricia, 2-minute closing statement. We'll move down to the direction of my right. Thank you.
For sure. I have been serving for a very long time, even long before I knew it. And that sense of public service was instilled by 4 generations of military members in my family. Not because, we just love the military and that's what we want to do, because it is inherent, not just in me, but in my family members, in my son who's over there taking pictures and stuff, who has worked with me on several campaigns, that the right thing to do is to help people, put ourselves at the forefront, and to do the right thing even when others don't agree with us. Let me tell you, it is time that we win statewide office, and I bring the background, the experience, the leadership, and the vision to make that happen. I hope to be able to serve as your next TDP chair because it would be an honor to serve you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patricia Oliveres. Paty Woods Martin, 2-minute closing statement.
So when I was at Annie's List and we worked with budding candidates, our amazing political director, Monica Gomez, would ask them first to answer the question, why me, why now? This is my why me, why now moment, right? Why me? I've spent a lot of time over the course of the last couple of weeks, especially talking to members of the State Democratic Executive Committee. And what I'm hearing from them is that they are looking for a strong leader who can build coalitions, who can listen to stakeholders, who can build a plan, make that plan, execute it, fund it to win elections. I have a proven track record of doing that, and I'd like to apply that to the Texas Democratic Party so that we can win elections. And why now? Well, now, this is a deeply personal commitment for me. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I am worried about the kids in this state. What is happening? You know, our education system is 41st in the country when it comes to fiscal health. That's today. That's before these right-wing nut jobs get a hold of it and continue to defund public education in this state. They've taken away the God-given rights of women, of members of the LGBTQ community, and we have got to stop that. We've got to stop it, and we've got to reverse it. You know, our hero and my friend Cecile Richards said, women, I got to read it, because I said, women aren't usually in it for the glory. They're in it to get shit done. And I am in it to get shit done.
Thank you very much, Patsy. We will allow each candidate to go 10 seconds over if you are quoting Cecile Richards. All right? Chair Parker Mims, your 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you so much. No Cecile Richard quotes, though. If you think that the TDP train is going down the right track, and we just need a new commander, and you just need to throw money at it, I am absolutely not the person you should vote for, because I do not think we are going down the right track. I think that we need to create a strategic plan in 4 areas: fundraising, engagement, voter registration, and get out the vote. What separates me from everyone is I have done all those things in my county. In the 7th largest county in the state, I have done those things in each election cycle that we've had. And TDP has never once asked us how we did it. No one. We've increased voter registration. We were #1 for percentage increase in 2022. Nobody asked us how we did it. Not powered by the people, not anyone. We didn't set up tents. We had a plan. We have people in Denton County who are ready to take that plan statewide. We want to work with county parties because it's more than just money. It's knowing how to create the infrastructure to build a party. And for some people, that might mean just gaining 20, 30 more people because they're in such small counties. But we have to stop and create a strategic plan in all of those areas. It is not simply going to be a new state chair that's going to help us flip. It is going to be the new plan that allows all of us to participate, to increase engagement, to increase fundraising, to do this continuously, not simply at get out the vote time. When we do get out the vote time and we do that, we're already behind the 8 ball and we've already lost. That includes getting engagement with our elected officials, getting them out, explaining what's happening, what they're trying to vote against. There's so many ways we can increase engagement, but that also includes working with caucuses that empower you guys to go out and increase engagement in those areas that you are particular to. I'm the CEO that will do that because I've done that. And I ask you to vote for me because it's time to win in Texas. And I remember more than Ann Richards. I remember Mark White when he was governor because we can win in Texas.
All right, thank you very much. Kendall Scutter, 2-minute closing statement, please, and thank you.
First, I really appreciate the opportunity to sit up here with these awesome candidates today. And you've been a real trooper, Aaron, and I really appreciate getting to know you more. Before I start, too, I also want to thank my brilliant wife, Carly, who lets me go and play politics and is so supportive and holding life down while I try to do all of this. I've given my life to this party. This party means a lot to me, because this party was here for my family when no one else was. And we have an obligation to build a party that is here for people who need us. People are under attack right now. And if they do not feel that they can trust our party, they will continue to not show up for us whenever we need them at a ballot box. That's why I'm running to return our party back to the grassroots. You know I'll do it because you've seen me do it. You don't do politics as long as I have without making a couple enemies. And every time that I've been asked to, I stand on the side of activists against the establishment class in Austin, who I'm sure is going to continue to try to tear me down for the next 2 months. But I stood at the front of that room as one of the vice chairs of this party and have a 100% voting record with this caucus. I am the only person in this race who has that voting record that I can point to. I am a person who understands that the people doing the work on the ground in this party are more important than any consultant in any room in DC or in Austin. And if we are not empowering our grassroots to do the work on the ground to get this accomplished, we will never be able to move the needle in Texas. This is about winning elections. This is about building an infrastructure that is long-lasting. What did we wish that the party did 40 years ago that we can start doing today to make sure that the party is ready 40 years from now? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time's today. And I'm here to start planting those trees and working with all of you. I'm going to make some mistakes. And I hope that you feel that you have enough of a relationship with me from all the time we've spent on the fields together and in the trenches that you can call me and let's talk it out. You're going to have a chair who respects you, who wants you at the table, and is ready to build an apparatus that will take back Texas for working people. Thank you guys for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you very much. Aaron, your 2-minute closing statement, please, and thank you.
There are 134 counties that have been neglected. And if you don't know who I'm referring to, it's the 134 pack. There are a lot of counties that have been neglected for far too long, and we can't do it anymore. We can't do it anymore. My dad, when he was 17 years old, his leg was maimed, right? And so his entire life, he was on disability. His fixed income was $504 a month, right? So when I was growing up in high school, I couldn't ask them for $5 to go out with my friends, right? They were generous. I had good friends, right? They'd always pay for everything, pay for the festivities of the night. But I couldn't even ask him for $5 to put gas in somebody's car to go cruising, right? We were that broke. That's who I am. That's where I come from. My life has turned around, and I've become a great success. Who grew up in the Depression era, a good job to him was working inside. It didn't matter if you were a cashier. It didn't matter what you did. If you were inside, you had it made, period. We've done a lot more. I've done a lot more in my life with that. That's who I am. That's who I represent. I represent rural Texas. I am rural Texas. I'm proud to be from rural Texas. I'm proud to be from where nobody pays attention, right? We made our own fun. We did everything that we wanted to do. And that's what I'm going to do as your next chair. I'm going to represent these areas, and I'm going to work with anybody in these areas, and I'm going to work with the cities as well. We all got to, pitch in together, right? But the bottom line is this, we cannot neglect these small towns anymore. That is my message to Texas, right? And I believe that if we can make small improvements in these areas, right? We don't have to win them. We just got to improve in them. Our percentages, we can win Texas, right? And so I don't want to neglect Texas. We shouldn't do it anymore. And I hope every single one of these candidates on here stand with me. It sounds like they do. But I think we got a lot of work to do in Texas. And I think that we can win Texas if we spend time in rural Texas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to welcome Clayton back up here to say some final words. I just want to say a thank you to the Texas Progressive Caucus, to the co-host Progress Texas, to each of the candidates, and frankly to all of y'all for a very spirited conversation. My name is Jeff Rotkoff. Please follow our work at barbedwire.com. Please come see me and get your Put Elon on the Rocket sticker before the day is over. Thank you all very much.
Well, I hope you all had a good time. So I'm going to let Christy, one of our other co-founders, say a few words. I'm going to say a few words. And we have some special invites. So please, I know as a ADHD person, I would probably be like vibrating, sitting the whole time. But I swear, I promise 5 minutes. And I mean it.
So I want to thank everyone for being here today. We so much appreciate your support. Also, everyone sitting in this room, you guys are the magic of Texas. You are the reason why we will not give up and we will win. I want to say I moved to Texas approximately 15 years ago. And when I found out that Johnson City was totally Republican, It almost grossed me out a little. How dare they take our territory? That is our city. This is our president. And this is our state park and our national park. We cannot let them forget what progressives brought to the Hill Country, not just to the Hill Country, but across the nation. We brought electricity, running water, rivers, roads, lakes, you name it, we did it. It was a progressive. So on that, this has been a dream for a very long time to have a Democratic event here in Johnson City, y'all. Thank you for coming out here. I want to give one remark about the room. When we have rooms this filled, making phone calls, phone banking, block walking, that's when you know we will win Texas. So when you go back to your counties, I want you to remember this room. This many people is what it takes to block walk a county and to win. You build teams of 100. You send people out. You knock those doors. You make those phone calls, and you make sure they don't forget what Texas Democrats have done in this state. There was some talk earlier about CEOs. Let me tell you what a CEO means to me. It means Chief Executive Organizer. I'm looking for a Chief Executive Organizer. I'm also looking for a Chief Organizer, and we have some chiefs here that I quickly want to shout out, and I did a list to make sure when I stood up here. For those of you that haven't been here before, I want you to know that this room gives me goosebumps. It reminds me of when Cesar Chavez and a bunch of organizers said, you can't organize the farm workers, and there were a bunch of Latinos and Mexicanos and a bunch of people all across the nation that said, yes, we can, and we will. And we were in that moment, and it'll take us a while, but we're gonna do it. Our chief organizers today, Angel Smith, shout out to Angel. Where are you, Angel, hiding? It's Angel's birthday today. Happy birthday, Angel. JT in the back. Shout out to JT. What's up? He helped organize all the food. Trish Contreras. Trish, where are you? There you are in the back right there. Trish, part of the executive team. Mitzi Musk, East Texas in the house. Mitzi. Jennifer Murphy-Vick, sitting right up here front, keeping time for all of us. There's a running joke at TXPC. A lot of our meetings are 3 hours long. Someone's fault right here. Sometimes they're 4 hours long. The work that we do is from our hearts. It is labor. None of us are paid. Everything we do is funded through the donations that you guys give to us as the Texas Progressive Caucus. We want you to know every donation we receive is that important. Clayton's going to talk a little bit about donations and what's coming up in business.
Thank you so much. And another round for Christy. So we founded the Texas Progressive Caucus in 2022. So we are 2.5 years old, and we have become one of the fastest growing caucuses. Just today, we've officially hit 470 members. By a raise of hand, raise your hand if you are a member of the Texas Progressive Caucus. So for folks not raising their hands, we only need 30 of y'all. We have a lot of information outside. We're getting a store set. Members, you will get discounts on all of our merch. Automatic. We're setting that up. We're hoping to have it done today. RIP. But maybe brought next week. A few quick other notices just for I don't think we talked about how we're going to be electing these folks. No? Okay. So let me explain the process, just so we're all on the same page. So now I'm talking about the Texas Democratic Party right now. So on March 29th, the State Democratic Executive Committee, every congressional district has 2, and there's other caucuses. The LGBT caucus, Robert, you were right there, but now I don't know where you went. County chairs, the Black Caucus, Hispanic Caucus. There's a lot of caucuses. And environmental. Disability. AAPI. Thank you, Nicolette. Youth and college. Anyway, they will be getting together. We will probably hear from some of these candidates again, and the STEC will be voting on them. If there is a candidate that you really loved up here, you have to talk to your STEC member. They are your voice, and you have to reach out to them. And the Progressive Caucus will be helping with that. We will have tools where you can reach out to your STEC, where you can talk to them like, hey, I really love this candidate, or I really love these 3 candidates. Because who was at the last state convention? Well, y'all remember we got, or we almost got ranked choice voting passed? It's not a bitter or sore subject at all, I promise. Well, guess what? We got it passed for this. So the SDC will get to rank their candidates the way they want it ranked, and really they should rank it the way y'all want them to have it ranked, because they are your SDC. This is your party. So again, if there are a set of candidates you just absolutely love, reach out to your SDC. You have until, I would do it before March 29th. I wouldn't do it day of. That's not really something you want to wait too long. But really, please reach out to them. And as for the Texas Progressive Caucus, sometime in February, we will be sending a poll to all of our members, another benefit of membership. And we will be asking our members on who do you support? Who should we as an organization endorse? So if you want to have a say in who we endorse, you have to become a member. There will be a membership cutoff date. I don't remember what it is. So you might as well just do it today. So we are having a happy hour at 6 p.m. All that information is right out there. It is at the Fredericksburg Brewing Company. Yes. Mitzi is giving me a nod, and Angel, or Mitzi and Jennifer. I need more coffee. It's a wonderful venue. Yes. So please join that. But also, as you talk to these folks, try to take some time to visit the ranch. Because as Christy said, this is our park. LBJ was one of us, at least domestically. His international. We'll leave that alone. But domestically, he was one of us, and it's a beautiful park. They have bisons, they have all sorts of things. So, I would also be remiss. Do we have any folks in agriculture here? We got a couple. Do we have folks who eat food here? There's a really good group that I encourage everyone to look at, the Texas Farmers Union. I'm their secretary. I wear a lot of hats. I like have my collection. Check them out, Texas Farmers Union. They're not the Farm Bureau, is what I'll say. They're not bought out by Big Ag. So check them out, ask these candidates some questions, hang out, see us at happy hour, and we'll get a beer.